Hey, my name is Hadrien Charlanes, and I'm the founder of Variabl. So I'm going to talk about stable tokens, about more generally about hedging, how to find stability on the Ethereum blockchain, so making sure that you can have in smart contracts some stable values, and on derivatives. That is the way that we've chosen to reach that. So Variabl is a non-custodial exchange for derivatives. So that means that you can choose your exposure against the price of Ether in a decentralized way, meaning not in the decentralized way, but you keep the custody of your funds. You don't deposit on an exchange. You keep your private keys. So derivatives, what does it mean? Derivatives are a contract between two parties, where, for instance, here A wants to lower their exposure to the risk of the volatility of Ether, and B want to increase it, so maybe a short and a long. And both of them are in a contract that is a derivative contract. So basically, B buys the volatility of A. So our derivatives, we've built this infrastructure that is transparent for. So we are not completely decentralized, but we've built that in a way that we are transparent and we are provably fair, and we allow for traders to use our derivatives to speculate on the price of Ether, for instance, and also we allow for hedging strategies. So you can use our derivatives to stabilize what you have. So we can say that Variabl allow Ethereum users or dApps to manage their exposure against the price volatility. So really, if you want to, for business reasons or personal reasons, if you want to increase your risk or lower your risk, you can use derivatives that are on Variabl. So actually, Variabl started as a research project on stable tokens. It was called Stable at the time. And so I guess maybe you were here for the Maker presentation, but stable token is a token that stores a stable value, that has a stable value. So two types of stable tokens, IOUs, where the token in itself is decentralized, but its value is relying on a centralized party, so it's not a great token, and the real ones that are relying on a game mechanism to ensure stability of the value. So you have two main kinds of stable tokens. You have the seigniorage shares model, that is basically a central bank where the mechanism is around the monetary policy of the stable tokens, and basically you issue tokens when the price is too high and you buy back them when it's too low. And you have the collateral-based model that basically is like what Maker is doing a bit and what we are doing. It's matching people, some that want stability and some others that want to take the other side. From starting with decentralized assets, tokens. So against seigniorage shares, basically it's a central bank that has shareholders. So you have two markets. You have the market of shares and the market of stable tokens. It's basically a company that sells stable tokens and buy back them with a target price. So they choose to buy back them or to issue new tokens to make sure that the price hits the target. And this is a really great theoretical idea, but it's really hard to implement, because if the market cap of your stable token, the total amount of stable token issued is not very large, you can get easily attacked by speculative attacks, so people buying and selling your tokens. Now the collateral-based models, basically it's the idea where you have two parties, here Bob and Alice, both have tokens, so Ether or I don't know, ERC20, and out of these tokens, Bob wants a stability, so he has one Ether that are worth, I don't know, $400. It wants to keep the $400, And on the other side, you have Alice that is ready to buy the volatility of Bob's assets. So here, Bob deposits in a contract some tokens. Alice deposits in a contract some other tokens. It creates a pool. This amount of tokens is locked. And Bob owns a USD stable value from this pool, and Alice owns the rest. So, for instance, if the price of Ether is $400, Bob deposits 1 ETH, so $400, and Alice 3 ETH, so the pool is 4 ETH. You have 1,600 USDs, and Bob owns 400 USD worth of Ether, and Alice owns the rest. So 4 minus 400 divided by the price. So you can see that it works as long as not like that, as long as the deposit, the initial deposit of Alice, has not been fully used to cover the loss of the depreciation of the collaterals. So if the, so for instance, if the, in this case, if the price of Ether goes from 400 to 100 USDs, Bob owns the whole pool, and Alice owns nothing. And if the price decreases again, Bob will not be able to have more than 4 Ether, and so the peg is lost. So in these mechanisms, the best friend you have is the liquidity. So here, let's say that the price has decreased by 75%. If you can manage to find another person that will take the position of Alice, then Bob is stable again, and it keeps on being stable. And the worst enemy is the black swan event. It's when you have fast crashes, and that, I don't know, in a short amount of time, Ether lost 95% plus of its value. In that case, it's really hard to find people that will replace Alice, and it's really hard for a collateral-based model to survive in this kind of situation. So here, we didn't really talk about stable tokens. We actually have a stable position. Bob has a stable position of $400, but you have no tokens yet. It just owns something stable. But Bob could say, so my position is stable, it is worth $400, I tokenize that, and then I can transfer them or stuff like that. So when doing that, you create fungible and liquid stable tokens. So from a stable position, you tokenize, and then you make it liquid. If on top of that, every Bob that wanted stability were mixed in the same pool, so a pool of stable positions, it creates fungibility. So let's say that you have Bob 1 with Alice 1 and Bob 2 with Alice 2. You can find ways so that Bob 1 and Bob 2 deposit in the same pool, and Alice 1 and Alice 2 in the same pool. And that way, the stable tokens of Bob 1 and Bob 2 are the same, so they are fungible. So it's great, it allows for trading, for transferring. Sorry. But these properties have cost. Indeed, fungibility, the fact that every stable token is the same, breaks the contracts between Alice and Bob. Now it's not between Alice 1 and Bob 1, it's between all the Alices and all the Bobs. And so if a bad event happens, the stability is broken completely. Whereas maybe if Alice 1 and Bob 1 had a different contract that is maybe stronger, they could have resisted, stuff like that. So this is the fungibility part, and the liquidity, allowing your stable position to be transferable and to be tokenized. That means that if some other dApps rely on your stable token and it breaks, the bad thing propagates to external things. So basically, when you think about fungible and liquid tokens, it's a bit all or nothing bet. If it breaks, and it's bad. So, and on top of that, I think that in a lot of use cases where dApps or individuals want stability, they don't actually want or need tokens. They just need a service that is stable. They don't need to have a token that is transferable, that is tradable. So, yeah. So stable tokens is great because you can use them to store a stable value, but you don't need them to have a stable value on chain. We proved it before with the simple contract. Bob had $400 stable, and he didn't need to have stable tokens. On top of that, you have UX friction. The first contract I showed you was pretty simple. It was a one step. Bob contracts with Alice, and he has something stable. With stable tokens, you always have to buy them and then to sell them and this kind of thing. It could create UX friction, or at least you can't customize the user experience to really fill the use case. So, for instance, any dApp that needs an escrow for a limited duration. Let's say that I'm an ICO. I want to be sure that 10% of my current USD value is locked for 3 years. I could buy stable tokens. I could sell my Ether that I've raised to have stable tokens and then lock them in a contract, but I don't need it. I could use the kind of contract that I showed you before. You have also a lot of use cases. You can think about supply chains that are using Ethereum for the transparency, for the reliability, the fact that it's hard to corrupt, and they use smart contract escrows to store USD values. And they need to have a way to store USD on the blockchain, but they don't really need to have stable tokens either. So taking this all in account during the research, we've realized that what is really important is the liquidity. So this is something that the more liquidity you have, the better you will be able to create great products, great hedging products. And so that's why we realized that a stable token is actually just a specific derivative. As I showed you, it could be seen as a contract between two persons. And a stable token is a special contract where one wants stability and the other wants to long a bit. But you can generalize this kind of approach to create derivatives where people can really choose their exposure. So they can long and short, choosing their leverage and stuff like that. And by seeing a stable token just as a specific derivative, you actually increase the liquidity, because you will attract also more traditional traders that want to speculate. They can use your derivatives not only to have stable tokens or to be collateral insurers of the stable tokens, but they can also use them to speculate. Basically, they can use your derivatives as they would use margin trading on centralized exchanges. So, yeah, this is, I would say, our focus. We want to build a great derivatives so that we can have liquidity, and we want to be sure to fill the needs of decentralized applications and Ethereum individuals that want stability. So that is really our focus. And we are both a protocol and an exchange. So we are the protocol that makes sure that derivatives work, but we are also an exchange because, as I said, liquidity is so important that we needed to have an efficient exchange. So if you think really long term, if you want this to succeed, you need to be able to compete with centralized exchanges like Kraken, like BitMEX, like CME, these kind of service providers that allows you to control your risk. We need to get liquidity from them. And we need to understand better the ecosystem and really what are the use cases. So this is our focus. We've been working on that for the last 2 years. Really working on, on what exactly? If you want to compete with centralized exchanges, one thing that is super important is that you need to create a Web3 experience that is as easy to use as a Kraken. You need to be compliant also. If you're thinking long term, you need to do things properly. And you need to make sure that the blockchain is sold as something more secure than centralized infrastructures, but that is not very, very true. So you need to make sure that the way you implement your decentralized application is really secure. And on top of that, you need it to be scalable. If you want to compete with Kraken again, you don't want an Ether Delta. You want just the same kind of efficiency. And on the product side, on the financial product side, you need your financial products to be as good as good as margin trading or as what traders are used to. So on the UX side, we've been running an alpha for more than 10 months. It's around really simple derivatives. It was a 24-hour contract, like a bit like the one I showed you before with a peer-to-peer contract where one longs and the other shorts. On the legal side, we've been in discussion with regulators for a long time now. On the scalability, the great research team, and there is Vincent in the room, I think, has been working on an implementation of full state channel that allows you to have a really cheap transaction and scale up and a high throughput. So, and we realized recently that it's really pretty close to what Plasma is doing. So at launch, we will be really scalable. On the finance side, there have been some challenges to be able to do derivatives on chain because you don't have access to debts, for instance, or you can't margin call traders or stuff like that. So there has been a lot of research on that side too. So now the research is at a point where a prototype is working, everything is set up so that we can implement it, and then really compete with centralized exchanges. We still have to know better how to use these derivatives. So basically, the core component is allowing traders or individuals to long and short with their leverage. But what we want to do is really satisfy the demands of dApps and individuals. So we are working on how to make sure that our derivatives can be used easily by dApps. So let's say you are a crowdfunding app and you are raising a crowdfunding campaign for a US resident. We need to make sure that, so a crowdfunding app is you open a campaign and you say, yeah, if it reaches, I don't know, $100K, then the campaign is successful. And while the campaign is open, you put the funds in an escrow. And so, for instance, what we are developing is the way so that a decentralized app can easily, through a Solidity API, for instance, say, okay, I receive Ether, I want to put it in a stable escrow. Or I want to open a stable escrow for 1 year. I want these kind of things. On top of that, we also want to build the fungible and liquid stable tokens. But the first step will be to have USD stable tokens within Variabl, and then maybe let it be more liquid. So this is really that. Our aim is not really to go to stable tokens. Stable tokens is a great tool, but what we want to achieve is really, you are a dApp, you have different currencies coming into your contract, you have different flows of assets, and we want you to be able to control that. So yeah, again, as I said, we have a great research, and now we have to implement it. This is the challenge of 2018, making sure that we do it the right way. So we are really excited because this year we're gonna see a non-custodial exchange really fast and scalable. So really excited about that. And we are finalizing the discussion with regulators so that we can be sure to be compliant. And the other side of it is that we are interviewing a lot of dApps, a lot of Ethereum users to understand what are their needs when thinking about stability. When do they want stability? Is it for long term, for short term? What is the latency they want? All these kind of things. So if you think that within your dApp you may need to store some USD, but not necessarily with stable tokens or with stable tokens, please come talk to us. We're really interested to understand how we could integrate in your flow, how we can help you with your financial flows. So, yeah. By the way, we are still building. We're still continuing to build the product team, and we are looking for security profiles and architect profiles to be sure that what we built is 100% secure and match the quality of the research we've done. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.